Is life meaningless? Throughout our lives, we often find ourselves pondering, what is the meaning of life? Why was I born? Is our existence merely the result of a fleeting attraction between two individuals, or are we part of some longer-term commitments made by others? Such questions can inspire us to seek answers and find meaning in life, or they can lead to depression when satisfactory answers elude us. For thousands of years, astrology has also attempted to provide answers to these personal queries based on the date and time of one's birth. Various religions and philosophies have similarly strived to provide fulfilling answers to these profound questions. Chapter 1. What is the meaning of life? The concept of meaning is irrelevant to life itself. Life is neither meaningful nor meaningless. Yet for centuries, human minds have been conditioned to believe that life holds some grand significance. All such meanings are arbitrary. Thus, in this century, for the first time in human history, the question, what is the meaning of life, has become one of the most pivotal questions. This is because all the old deceits have been exposed. Life is said to have meaning if there is a God. Life is meaningful if there is an afterlife. Life is meaningful because churches, synagogues, temples, and mosques continually hammer this idea into people's minds. A certain maturity has come to humanity, not to everyone, but to a very small minority. I want you to remember 5 significant names. First is Søren Kierkegaard. He was the first to raise this question and was condemned globally because even asking it sparked doubt in people. No one had ever dared to ask, what is the meaning of life? Even atheists who denied God, denied an afterlife, denied the existence of the soul, even they never questioned the meaning of life. They said, to eat, drink, and be merry. That is the meaning of life. To them, it was clear that these pleasures, to eat, drink, and be merry, encapsulated all of life. But Søren Kierkegaard delved deeper into this question. Unknowingly, he sparked a movement, Existentialism. Following him were 4 other names, Martin Heidegger, Karl Jaspers, Gabriel Marcel, and last but not least, arguably the most important, Jean-Paul Sartre. These individuals continue to hammer into the intellect of the world, life is meaningless. Now, anyone with any sort of intelligence will eventually confront this question, and he must find a way to face it. I do not agree with these 5 great philosophers, but I hold great respect for them. They were courageous because once you remove meaning from life, religion disappears. For so far, religion has been nothing but an effort to inject meaning into your life, to fill it so you do not feel empty, to surround you with God and angels so you do not feel alone. You do not go to churches, synagogues, and temples without reason. Existence is merely a challenge for creativity. Throughout millennia, humans haven't bowed to priests without reason. They gained something in return. Indeed, they were exploited, but even within that exploitation, they found a measure of comfort. They weren't alone. They were cared for. Life was not pointless. It held great, spiritual, mysterious, and profound meaning, so vast and deep that it was beyond your intellect to grasp. Yet, most people, 99%, aren't troubled by the question. How could they be? They easily find comfort in a past that is not dead to them. The meanings that religious figures have instilled in human life are arbitrary. These individuals expose the arbitrariness of the meanings given by religion, but that does not imply that life is meaningless. It simply means that the meanings infused into life so far have been found invalid. God is not the meaning of life. Life after death is not the meaning of life. Jesus is not the meaning of life. However, that doesn't mean life lacks meaning. Because you thought these were the meanings of life, when they suddenly collapse, you gravitate toward the extreme opposite idea of meaninglessness. Remember this perspective: be existential. I want to tell you that life is not about having meaning or not having meaning. The question is irrelevant. Life is an opportunity, a potential unfolding. It depends on what you make of it. It depends on what meaning, colors, songs, poetry, dances you bring to it. Life is a creative challenge. The beauty is that it doesn't have a fixed meaning, or else there would be no challenge at all. It would just be a given. You are born, and the meaning of life is handed to you, and you carry it throughout your life. That is your life's meaning. No, existence is deeper than any meaning. Existence is merely a challenge for creativity. Chapter 2: 10 Answers for a Meaningful Life. From the Buddhist perspective of Dr. B. Alan Wallace, a renowned scholar and practitioner of Buddhism in the United States. He directs long-term programs at the Santa Barbara Institute and the University of California, Los Angeles, studying the relationship between meditation and happiness. The first question: what is genuine happiness? I think the term human flourishing is more accurate as it derives from the Greek word eudaimonia. Translating it as genuine happiness works, but flourishing is more precise. And what does this happiness bring us? A meaningful life. So, what makes our lives meaningful? In my view, it must be about each day, not just a lifetime. I see 4 elements for a happy day. First, have I lived this day with ethical discipline? Here, I'm referring to the fundamental moral principles in Buddhism, like not harming others, not speaking harshly, and practicing compassion and mindfulness. The second element is feeling happiness rather than suffering. I've met practitioners who always exude a peace in their steps, in how they handle life's challenges and interact with others. The third is seeking truth, wanting to see and understand the reality, the true nature of oneself and life. And one can do all these while sitting quietly in a small room, but no one is isolated or independent. Hence, to have a happy life, we must answer the fourth question: what do I bring to life? If I can look back on a day in my life and see these 4 elements, ethical discipline, happiness, truth, and concern for others, I can say, I am a happy person. Happiness does not depend on our bank account, our spouse's attitude, our job, or our salary. We can live a life full of meaning, even if we had only 10 minutes left to live. Question 3. The 4 elements you mentioned don't include health. Isn't health a crucial factor? Actually, no. One of my students has a rare and severe disease, requiring daily hospital visits and medication for the rest of his life. One might think, what a pitiful and painful situation. But when I met him the other day, he told me, "Alan, I am flourishing." And I genuinely felt that he was. He has found a way to navigate within his limitations, under the conditions that exist for him. His spirit is clear. He reads, he writes, he grows. He meditates daily and even teaches meditation to other terminally ill patients in the hospital. He lives a very full and meaningful life, and he can honestly say he is happy. Question 4. What is his secret? He does not seek happiness from external sources. When we rely on status, money, or our spouses to bring us happiness, We will never be truly happy because we are depending on things that are not ours. Moreover, others around us also vie for the same money and status, which are not abundantly available for everyone. That's the sad reality. Question 5. What about the good news? The great news is that genuine happiness is not sold in the marketplace, where it can be bought if one has the money. One of the least discovered secrets is that the happiness we seek in high positions, in a perfect spouse, in well-behaved children, in good health, in a secure job, in security, in looking good, all of that is always available within us, just waiting to be connected with. Instead of searching externally, why not turn inward and see what happens? This does not mean that you should not marry, buy a car, or find a satisfying job. But I want to emphasize that if you are happy, that happiness does not depend on external factors because they are not within your control. Question 6. Everyone says money and status don't bring happiness, but how many actually live that way? The truth is, deep down, we don't really believe it. We continue to search outside ourselves, chasing what we think will make us happy: fame, a high position, love, financial and emotional security. We lack hope and belief in a true form of happiness. We tell ourselves, maybe true happiness doesn't exist. It's just nice to talk about. I'm content with an iPod or a big screen TV. That's enough happiness for me. Or some might say, let's not talk about happiness. Just getting through today is tough enough. I think they are truly to be pitied. Question 7. Is that a form of despair? It's a state where our mind no longer has space. We lose a broader perspective. I think of loving kindness metta. When practicing loving kindness, we start with loving ourselves. But this doesn't mean, what job is best for me? How much salary do I deserve? Rather, it's about, how can I flourish? How should I live to be happy, peaceful, and meaningful? Then we expand that outlook. How can people suffering find real happiness? Shantideva said, those who seek to escape from suffering plunge into suffering. Because they desire happiness, they unwittingly destroy the happiness they have, treating it as an enemy. Why is that? Why do so few choose the path of spiritual practice if it could bring genuine happiness? The real answer is that we don't actually know what can bring us true happiness. It will take a long time and painful experiences before we wake up and recognize what is happening. We are tied to images and ideas in our heads. If only my spouse were like this, if only I had that job, that amount of money, looked like this, had this kind of health, then I would be happy. But these are mere illusions. We all know people who have perfect health, wealth, status, and abundant love, yet they still carry a lot of pain. These people are our teachers because they teach us a significant lesson. They show us that you can win life's grand lottery, yet still lose the lottery of happiness. Question 8. When you talk about genuine happiness, do you mean to suggest that there are other types of happiness in life? Exactly. We often mistake what the Buddha called the 8 worldly winds, the fluctuations of life, for happiness. These 8 winds are the desires to prosper but not decline, to experience pleasure but not pain, to receive praise but not criticism, to gain fame but not obscurity. However, we must remember this. There is nothing inherently wrong with being wealthy, joyful, praised, and renowned. Take wealth, for example. If you have a new coat, does discarding it make you a better person? Obviously not. There's nothing wrong with having things, but it's a grave error to believe that they can bring happiness. True happiness is about connecting with the root of happiness, not just grasping at elements that may or may not manufacture happiness. The difference between practicing and chasing after the 8 worldly winds lies right there. Some people practice meditation with the goal of satisfying these desires, seeking a kind of pleasure in meditation. They treat meditation like a cup of coffee, a jog, or a massage. While there's nothing wrong with that, it's quite limited. Meditation can do something a massage can't. It can heal the wounds within our minds. Question 9. This path to happiness seems to require a lot of faith and letting go. It sounds a bit scary. What will I become if I let go of all external things? You don't need to plunge into deep waters right away. It's like saying one day, "This world is a house on fire, full of suffering. I will renounce everything to seek peace in the Buddhist teachings." Then, after a few days, weeks, or at best months, you might think, "Hey, this practice doesn't seem as peaceful or happy as they said. Where's my iPod, my TV, or my old girlfriend? Does anyone know where they went?" So, the issue is not about suddenly dropping all life's pleasures, the worldly winds, and only practicing profound Buddhist teachings. It's like teaching a child to swim. You don't throw them into the deep end and see what happens. You start shallow, getting them used to the water. Similarly, start by meditating a bit each morning and evening. See how it affects your day. Gradually, you will taste the flavor of the teachings. You might find it interesting. You feel happier. Not just happier, but you also gain some virtue. You see reality more clearly. And if you wish, you can now help others and the world more effectively through your practice. You actually feel happier and you'll grow more confident in the path you're on. The 8 worldly winds will still blow. They continue to come and go. They're still there, but now you can use them to further your practice. Final question. Can we then conclude that the path of Buddha's practice is not just for enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, but also for bringing happiness to others? I believe that Buddha experienced something profound and extraordinary under the Bodhi tree. However, he was also aware that this enlightenment would not be fully meaningful if he did not share it with others. Enlightenment is not about self-contentment. Now I'm fine. All done. I can rest. The world was transformed by Buddha's presence in it. But it wasn't the 49 days he spent under the Bodhi tree that transformed the world. It was the 45 years that followed, during which Buddha met and engaged with the poor, kings, warriors, beggars, sharing his enlightenment with everyone he encountered. Therefore, returning to the 4 elements I mentioned earlier, sitting under the Bodhi tree, Buddha embodied the first 3 elements: virtue, happiness, and truth. And over the following 45 years, he developed the 4th element, bringing happiness into life. In my view, Buddha is the epitome of a life full of happiness and meaning. But I must also warn you, sometimes to access that genuine happiness, you might need to momentarily set aside your iPhone and smart TV.